All right, today we're going to dive into a story that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a Cold War spy novel. But get this, it all happened in a quiet, modern-day suburb. This is the incredible story of Clara Vance, a woman who built the perfect life on top of the most extraordinary secret.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. 40 years. That's a lifetime. It's one thing to just disappear off the map, right? But it's something else entirely to erase one life and then, piece by piece, lie by lie, build a whole new one right under everybody's noses. And the answer? Well, it's as brilliant as it is shockingly simple. You don't go hide in the shadows. No, you hide in plain sight. You become someone so pure, so completely harmless that no one would ever think to look twice.
So our story kicks off in Oakwood Heights, a town that could be pretty much anywhere USA. And right at the heart of it was Clara Vance. She was the picture-perfect grandmother, you know? She wasn't just another resident. She was practically an institution. And this, right here, this was her masterpiece. On the surface, she was Clara Vance, the sweet lady who baked cherry pies and wore these lovely floral dresses. But underneath that carefully crafted image, that was Elena Volkov, a ghost from a whole other world, a world of espionage, dark money, and some very, very deep secrets. And look, this wasn't some half-hearted performance. Oh no, this was method acting on a whole other level. She lived it, she breathed it. The pies for new neighbors, that soft-spoken voice, the perfect little house with the white picket fence. Every single detail was just another piece of her camouflage, designed to make her completely and utterly unremarkable. And you know what? It totally worked. This quote from her neighbor of over a decade, Sarah Miller, it says everything. She wasn't just fooling strangers. She had the people closest to her completely convinced that she was the living embodiment of goodness. So innocent. Those two words, they were her shield. But here's the thing about perfect illusions. They rarely last forever, right? It wasn't one big dramatic event that blew her cover. It was a series of small, kind of weird things that just didn't quite add up, things that didn't fit the Clara Vance picture. It all started with these little things that just felt off. First, a sleek black sedan with tinted windows just sitting on our quiet street for 3 days straight. Then this heavy sealed wooden crate shows up, delivered by some mystery man from a shipping company that went out of business years ago. Each one was like a little whisper that something was wrong. But then came the shout, an anonymous tip with a grainy photograph attached. The photo was from Zurich, dated 1974. So you have this photo, right? And in it, there's this young woman in a leather trench coat standing in front of a Swiss bank. Decades had passed, sure, but some things just don't change. The high cheekbones, the way she tilted her head, there was no mistaking it. It was her. The angel of Elm Street had a past. A big one. Okay, so with this one single photo, a full-blown investigation kicks off. But the crazy part is, they weren't just looking for a woman with a hidden past. They were looking for a woman who, at least on paper, literally did not exist before 1982. But right away, investigators just slam into a brick wall. Because Clara Vance, she was a ghost. No birth certificate, no school pictures, no family history, nothing. She just sort of materialized in 1982, bought her house with a suitcase full of cash, and started her brand new life. The entire identity was a complete fabrication. And this is where it all comes together. The big reveal. Because while Clara Vance never really existed, Elena Volkov most certainly did. She was a brilliant East German cryptographer, a real prodigy, who vanished back in the 70s after supposedly orchestrating this massive redirection of dark funds. So the woman everyone knew for her community spirit was once known as a master of blending in. Two completely different lives, one incredible person. So, now that they know who she really is, the investigators decide to pay a little visit to Elm Street. But this wasn't some big raid with sirens blaring. No, it was a quiet, incredibly tense meeting right in the heart of the perfect illusion she had spent a lifetime building. I mean, can you just picture this scene? You've got the smell of cinnamon in the air, she's probably offering them tea, and then this grainy, black and white photo from another lifetime gets placed right on top of her delicate little lace doily, the past crashing into the present. The source says the air in the room dropped 10 degrees. And you know what? I believe it.
And get this, she doesn't even deny it. Nope. Instead, she basically lays out her entire philosophy in this one chilling quote. Innocence wasn't who she was, it was a tool. It was a weapon. It was a cloak of invisibility that she wore perfectly for 40 years.
And just as professionally as she lived the lie, she ended it. By morning, when the authorities showed up, poof, she's gone. The house was immaculate, the bed was made, but that wooden crate was gone, and an attic floorboard revealed a hidden compartment. She was a ghost, once again.
All she left behind was this one single cryptic note. And this is what makes the whole story so wild, right? It just blurs all the lines. Was any of it real? She says the kindness was. It kind of makes you wonder if, after 40 years, maybe the mask and the face had started to become the same thing. So the story itself is just wow. But the why of it all, that's almost more fascinating. How in the world did she pull this off? How did she fool an entire town for decades? Well, the answer is all in our own psychology. It really all boils down to something called cognitive bias. We all have it. Our brains are wired to take shortcuts, to rely on stereotypes. And we just don't associate a sweet old lady who bakes pies with, international espionage. She knew that, and she used our own biases against us. When you break it down, her tactics were an absolute masterclass in psychological manipulation. First, she performed an archetype, the innocent grandmother, to perfection. Second, she used our own stereotypes to hide in plain sight. Third, she mirrored what the community wanted to see, a simpler, safer world. And that's how she pulled off her greatest heist. It wasn't about stealing money, it was about stealing the hearts of a town so they would never, ever think to look any closer. And that, of course, leaves us with the big question at the end of all this. What do we even make of her? Was she a villain who got away with it? A Cold War hero who finally completed her mission? Or was Clara Vance just a role she played, a ghost who is never really there to begin with? That's definitely something to think about.